Welcome, everybody, to Embody the Goddess Live. I'm so excited to be here for our first inaugural live session of this monthly feature on my channel, Creating Inner Beauty. If you don't know me, my name is Liz. I'm an intuitive coach and healer. And I work with conscious and spiritual women to help them heal themselves, step into their power and unique intuitive gifts, and manifest soul aligned lives that they love. And one of the ways I love doing that is through working with goddess energy, helping women remember the divine feminine and activate the divine feminine within them, including through goddess circles, goddess rituals, goddess oracle card readings. I've found in my own journey and in working with the women I work with and my clients and my students in my goddess circles, that having experiences where we connect to the power and the energy of the divine feminine and see that within us, see how we are part of that divine feminine energy, serves to empower us, heal us, and transform us as women. That's been true in my life, and I see it in my goddess circles that I run in person. And so I was really excited to bring that energy here to YouTube, to the YouTube space, into this YouTube community. So excited to dive into that. Now, one of the things that I wanted to share as we're starting off this first session of Embody the Goddess Live. Hi, Gina. Good to see you. I am so glad. Thank you for coming. And you may have noticed I had to push back the start time today because I was running a little late this morning. So I appreciate you being here and staying for as long as you can. So something that I was going to share. You can tell I was running late this morning, guys, because I did not do my hair. So apologies for that. But as I tuned into the Gaia energy, the grounding energy, the message I received was just take a breath, reground yourself, get calm. Everything's going to be okay. Trust what wants to unfold here. So I think that was a perfect in the moment example of how connecting to the divine feminine energy within us, to goddess energy, can help support us in our day-to-day life. So that's the first thing I want to share with you guys. The second thing I wanted to share as part of the introduction to this series is the vision that I had when I first started doing goddess work. This was for my in-person goddess circles a couple of years ago. I've always been drawn to connecting with, working with the goddesses and divine feminine energy. And so when I was finally stepping in to hosting and holding, facilitating my own goddess circles, I was a little anxious about it. And I had to spend some time going into meditation and setting the intention to receive from the goddesses, you know, what role did I have in this? What was I meant to bring forth in these goddess circles experiences when I talk about goddess energy, when I do goddess oracle card readings? And the vision I was given, the message that I was given was that my job is to imagine myself almost like I'm a candle, and in these experiences, I am lighting the wick of the next candle. So if I just light the flame of one more candle, then that person will light the flame of another candle, and that person will light the flame of another candle, and so on and so forth. And that will spark within us this knowledge of our own power as women and our connection to the divine and divine feminine energy. So that is my intention for this session today and all of our future sessions, that as you're listening to me talk about this goddess energy, that you find something within it that sparks within you your own knowledge of the goddess and the goddess that you are, and that you hold that energy within yourself, and that you can move through the world embodying those energies. Okay. And then as we transition into talking about Gaia, which is what we're going to talk about today, Gaia and your root chakra and grounding and why that's all important and how to embody Gaia in your day to day life as much as possible. I wanted to read to you before we kind of transition to that a beautiful passage from a book called Aspecting the Goddess by an author called Jane Meredith. And I think it's such a wonderful introduction to the work we're going to be doing here and to Gaia herself. So if you bear with me as I read you this passage, it's not super long. Um, so it starts with, let yourself step inside a realm where the gods and goddesses interact with us. In this place, we experience all of nature as an expression of spirit and ourselves as part of nature. The goddess is alive, we are alive, and we are part of her. We begin with a name, a wish, a vision, a dream. We hold on to that vision or yearning. We court it. We begin a journey. We open to it. We follow this thread of goddess and begin to find books, rituals, art, nature, trance, myth, and to these we bring our curiosity, desire, and willingness. We seek out a world where the goddess speaks to us, dances with us, moves through our bodies, and teaches us directly. This world is not a distant planet, a fantasy novel, or an epic poem. It is our own world. When we enter into relationship with the goddess, we meet the divine not only in ritual and sacred space, but also in our daily lives, as long as we make room for her. The concept that the gods are all around us in the air and earth, the stars and trees and insects, reveals the magic of nature to us. This is sometimes called pantheism, the belief that all is divine, everything is part of divinity. When we stop separating the divine from the natural, from the world we live in, we no longer battle with the separation within ourselves. We are spirit and we are body. There is no distinction. Nature, the world, and the earth are sacred, are divine. So are our bodies. We are not separate from nature, but a part of it. All of our knowledge comes through the experiences we have while inhabiting our body. Our understandings of the divine also come to us this way from the embodied experiences we have. And so I think that passage beautifully reflects why we want to embody the goddess, embody that piece of divinity within ourselves. And also this idea that we are part of nature and nature is part of us is so perfect and so beautiful for the goddess Gaia. So let's talk about her for a little bit. So if you don't know, Gaia is a goddess from Greek mythology, the Greek pantheon, and she is really Mother Earth, basically, right? She is a primordial goddess who was here, her being, her energy was here before many of the other gods and goddesses in Greek mythology. And she was said to have birthed the mountains, the skies, the ocean, the rivers, the fields, the greenery, the trees, all of the things, right? All of the pieces of nature are Gaia. So she's not really this like distant singular figure. She is really the energy of the earth herself and this living energy that we can tap into that exists beneath us and all around us, and that we are a part of. And so I think that is a very beautiful way of conceptualizing and expressing the energy of Gaia. And so, because of that, because Gaia is so foundational, so much part, she created the earth, created our world, and supports and sustains all of nature, all of life, including us as humans. She is very connected to our root chakra. And our root chakra is the first energy center to develop in us as human beings. And if you're unaware of the root chakra, an energy center that is located at the base of our tailbone, and that connects us. It's where we connect down into the earth, our energy systems into the Mother Earth, to Goddess Gaia. And it is responsible for our feeling of safety in the world, our feeling of security, our ability to feel supported and take up space, to feel calm and to be connected to our bodies, and also plays a really large role in our ability to see and hold and receive abundance, and especially in like finances, money, in those kinds of areas of life. So our root chakra is very essential for those things. And when it is imbalanced, whether it is contracted or blocked or over working, which can also happen, it can go both ways. Some of the things that we see, that we experience in our lives, are feeling constantly anxious, unable to calm ourselves, feeling scattered, feeling stressed, having a really hard time feeling safe in the world, a hard time feeling and allowing in support from the outside world, from people in our lives. Trusting that, we will be held, that things are working out, trusting in the universe, trusting in the divine. All of those things can be challenging. We can have a hard time staying in our bodies and feeling connected to our body. So sometimes when our root chakra is in imbalance, we can more easily dissociate, and kind of disconnect from our bodies, not really sort of nourishing ourselves and knowing how to do that, having our nervous systems be really dysregulated and anxious, and having challenges with financial issues, with receiving abundance, with holding abundance, with bringing things that we wish for in our lives into the material world and holding those experiences. So those can be challenges of the root chakra. And I'm curious, for those of you who are here live, is any of that something that resonates with you? Anything that you have a challenge with that can be connected to the root chakra? I know for myself, that some issues around feeling supported, feeling safe, allowing that support in for myself, trusting in the universe, in other people, that kind of thing, have at times in my life been very challenging. And it has been so healing to focus specifically on grounding, which is going to be a big part of healing the root chakra and working with Gaia. And um, conceptualizing this and connecting to the energy of Gaia as the earth mother who can support us and who acts as this nourishing mother who provides us with the energy of safety and grounding. So that's been very transformational. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Let me check in here on the comments. Gina says, Gaia was one of the goddess figures on my altar at times. And yes, a history of dissociation to not feel. Yeah, absolutely. When our root chakra, it has some challenges, it's really easy to kind of just go up into the upper chakras and then feel very scattered and very disconnected from our bodies and kind of like float away from them. So the more we ground, the more we honor our bodies as the temple of the inner goddess parts of us, the more centered we feel and in our power and present in our lives. And I think this really kind of brings up the question of how do these um, challenges with the root chakra come up? And really, what occurs, why that happens, is the root chakra develops very early on in in our development. So if early on we have experiences growing up in our families, in our lives, school, community, whatever it is, where we feel unsafe, where we feel our emotions and needs, physical and emotional, are not attended to, when we feel like there's chaos around us, um, it becomes very hard to trust that everything is okay. And that impacts the development of our root chakra, which is also connected, is the energetic connection to the rest of our nervous system, right, in our body. So our nervous system learns, hey, this is not necessarily a safe place where I can be calm, where everything is going to be okay. I need to be on high alert in order to be scanning my environment to try to keep myself safe. Right. And so that sense develops very early on, often, pre-verbally, and then it takes some focused work to really teach ourselves that we can be okay, that we can be our own source of grounding and nourishment by doing things like connecting to the energy of Gaia, by grounding practices, by nervous system calming practices, by nourishing our bodies. We slowly start to teach ourselves that everything is okay. We can be safe. Our world can be safe. Gina said, learning to spend time with family of origin and not dissociate has been difficult. That makes sense. That definitely makes sense, Gina. Like, if our family of origin, for whatever reason, has been a place where there has been that chaotic energy, or we don't feel supported, we don't feel seen, we don't feel taken care of in the way that we need, and that may be. For a number of different reasons. Everybody in life is doing their best, but sometimes our families don't have the full capacity to give us everything that we need when we're growing up. It's really easy to start to dissociate. And then when we're back in that situation, that's going to be kind of the go to. So it takes a lot of focused practice. To ground ourselves and to prepare ourselves to go into those situations and not default to that coping mechanism, has been what I found. And I'm imagining that resonates with you, Gina. Let me know if it does. And that's a beautiful time where we can call on Gaia, on that energy of Gaia, to help us through that process, to spend some time getting grounding before we spend time with our families of origin or any other difficult or chaotic situation we may walk into, and really tap into her energy, feel it within us, embody it within us as we move through that experience. Gina said, exactly, not abused, just raised by people who hadn't figured it out themselves yet. So trying to break patterns myself. Yes, absolutely. Totally makes sense. And I think that's probably going to be a lot of people's experiences. And I know that that can be my experience as well. Um, so I think that that is actually a beautiful segue, and thank you for bringing that up, Gina, to talking about some of the messages I received from Gaia as I was tuning in to preparing our talk today, our discussion. One of the things, so what I do when I am preparing for a goddess circle or when I'm doing any kind of goddess work is, spend a little bit of time in reflection and meditation, calling in that goddess energy. Today, I also spent a good deal of time in nature this morning, partially why I was running late. So it, I think, is all working out perfectly and beautifully and divinely, as it always does. Um, and, what was really coming through, the energy that I was getting was Gaia wanting to share the message that she is this nurturing energy, loving energy that is always there for you to tap into, to ground into. Um, because she is truly, when we say Mother Earth, it's not just an expression. Ultimately, she is all of our mothers. And so she wishes to hold us and to support us. And I'm giving kind of, I'm being given this visual of her wrapping her arms around you and holding you during times when you feel ungrounded, anxious, stressed, not connected to your body. Not sure like how you're going to move through something, that she is really there to hold you during those experiences. And how, and the way to access her, of course, can be through meditation, through visualization, through calling on her energy, through ritual, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but is also to go out and to spend time with her and in her. When I say in her, of course, in nature, it sounded kind of funny. And, it just kind of makes me think of, we always hear like, oh, go for a nature walk. I say that so many times a day myself, or I've said that on videos, go put your feet in the grass to ground, to go, you'll feel better if you go outside, get some fresh air. And those are things that are easy to say and then easy to dismiss sometimes. But if you really think about it, if you've ever gone out and spent some really quality time in nature where you've just let yourself be completely surrounded by it, maybe have laid in the grass and really like intentionally been present, felt the sun on your face, felt the fresh air, or maybe you've gone to the ocean and sat on the sand and felt the ocean breezes, you feel different afterwards. Like you never go out in nature and if you're really intentional about it, feel the same or feel like, oh, that wasn't worth it. Like, I wish I hadn't done that. You will feel a shift in your energy, right? And why is that? Um, of course, there are like physical things that are going on and energetic things that are going on that are good to support your energy system and your physical body in terms of grounding and the energy we connect to there, etc. Your nervous system, but metaphorically or I want to say fundamentally at its core, it is because we are connecting to the energy that created and held or can hold all of us, the original mother. We are spending time in that energy being held. um I hope that makes sense and that resonates for people. So I guess my invitation in the coming days, if you're listening to me talk about this, is to spend that time outside. But when you do so, it's not just going for a walk. This is connecting to the maternal energy that is always there for us, that wants to support us, wants to hold us, wants to nurture us. And is there even if our own mothers couldn't do that, or your mother is not in your life or has passed on or is just not available to you in that present moment, that um, our Earth Mother is, and that we can always connect with her. Also, another beautiful thing is to bring her into your home, right? Gina mentioned having an altar. That's always a beautiful thing to do, to place representations of Gaia on your personal altar in your sacred space. Also, to bring um, her energy into your world, into your house, into your space through plants, flowers, crystals, right? Pieces of the earth. What are crystals? Pieces of the earth. Um, uh, Twigs, branches you pick up from outside. So many beautiful ways that you can think of, whatever kind of like resonates with you. But having that be part of your space is going to bring in that beautiful earth energy, Gaia energy for you to connect with. And there's, I think, lots of studies that show that having plants in your space improves the air quality, helps you feel healthier, helps your house feel fresher, etc. There's that scientific aspect, but it's also, you are bringing in a piece of the original mother into your space. Oh, Gina, I appreciate that. No, absolutely no problem. You can go whenever you need to. And if you'd like to come back and finish on the replay, please feel free to do so. Um, Other things that the goddess Gaia can help us with is really taking on the perspective that nurturing ourselves is of primary importance, and that honoring the cycles of our body are key to that process and the cycles of our life, right? So when we think of Gaia, when we think of the earth, she goes through her cycles and her seasons, and she makes no apology about it, right? She is going to go, depending where you live on this is where you live, of course, this is going to look different, but she's going to go through her fall, her winter, her summer, her spring, right? And that happens year after year. And each period of time has a purpose. This is true for ourselves as women, especially people in general, of course, but women especially. We are cyclical beings, right? We go through a cycle each month of how our hormones fluctuate, that impacts our energy level. And so there is a great connection between Gaia and our own cycles, and her wisdom in honoring those cycles. So if you've ever heard of the concept of cycle syncing, and really starting to pay attention to, where am I at hormonally, and how does that impact my energy? And then honoring that can be a very beautiful practice that helps you embody that Gaia energy and honor yourself as a piece of the goddess. Um, and this is true like throughout the course of a month, but also even just like within a day, right? Like you're going to have fluctuating energy within a day. I know for myself, I am the kind of person who's like a slow start in the morning, like energized in the middle of the day, and then I like taper down and I'm not coming back up. Like I don't get that second wind later on in the middle of the night like some people do. That is my cycle, right? And I've learned over time to honor that. So there are certain things I do in the morning to honor my quieter and slower energy. And then the times in the day when I'm more energized is when I am more productive, when I do my work, when I try to see my clients, and then I let myself wind down. And that is a way of honoring my physical body, my energy as a woman, and is kind of embodying that goddess Gaia energy. And so I invite you to think about, do you do that throughout your day, throughout your month? If not, how can you do so? And how different would that make you feel? And I think you'll find that will be a much more empowered place to move from. Right. And I recognize that sometimes our lives, our work, our families don't always allow us to move purely with the rhythm of our body, with our cycle, etc. But as much as you can, check in with yourself and remember that you have that energy of Gaia within you, and you are allowed to nurture yourself in that way. So try to make it a priority for yourself. Okay, let me see what else I wanted to talk about here with Gaia. So, some further suggestions about connecting with Gaia are to work with, when we work with the goddesses and divine feminine energy, you certainly don't have to do this, but a beautiful thing to do is to make this very embodied by doing physical things and using your physical senses to connect with that divine feminine energy. So, if you're working with Gaia, and especially if you're working with your root chakra and working on opening it and balancing it and healing it, is to work with essential oils and incenses. So, some beautiful essential oils to work with would be anything that's grounding. So, frankincense, myrrh, sandalwood, anything that smells really nice and earthy would be very beautiful as well. Um, Same for incenses, frankincense incense, myrrh, sandalwood, sage. What else? So let me think here. I had a whole list that I'm trying to find. And of course, where has it gone? Well, those are the big ones that come to my mind. I'll put the rest of them in the description down below. Um, And also crystals. So any grounding crystal is going to be very beautiful. Jasper, hematite, any of the darker crystals, black tourmaline, obsidian, smoky quartz, also grounding and clearing anything that has that earth energy connected to it. So, bringing those things into your space, anointing yourself with those oils, burning that incense as you call in Gaia, as you do a grounding practice, is going to be a very beautiful way to work with her, right? I also have a morning meditation here on my YouTube channel that's all about grounding with Gaia first thing in the morning to pull in her energy and to keep it with you throughout the day. So I welcome you to check that out. I'll leave that linked down below as well. And so I think we'll end here in terms of, just opening up these Embody the Goddess live sessions and this with working with Gaia. And we'll end here with just a gentle, simple practice that I'll guide you through just to get really grounded moving from here. So take a moment if you're able to, if you're not driving, if you are seated somewhere, and just give yourself a chance to move your body a bit. Feel your body. And then let your eyes fall closed. Let's just take 3 deep grounding breaths. Big inhale and exhale. Twice more. Big breath in and exhale. Last time, big breath in and exhale. And then drop your awareness down to your root chakra. Set the intention for your root to open, clear, and come into balance. And then out of your root chakra, picture your beautiful roots going down into Mother Earth, down into Gaia, connecting to her heart, feeling the love, the support, the maternal nourishment she has for you. And then feeling that energy gifted to you coming back up your root, filling your root chakra, filling your whole body, and helping you feel calm, present, and the embodiment of Mother Earth. Okay. And then when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. Okay. So I hope that this Embody the Goddess Live session sparked a little flame inside of you to learn more about the goddesses, more about your own divine energy, to think about how you can embody this energy for yourself a little bit more every day. And then I'll be back next month with another goddess and another exploration of how we can embody her energy in our day to day lives as women. And I'd love to hear from you if there are any goddesses that you feel particularly called to and that you'd like to connect to and learn about. Be happy to talk about them in future sessions of this live. So, guys, I will bid you adieu. Have a beautiful month, and I will talk to you later.